What if I told you that I was thinking about a knife that appealed to both users and collectors, even though it was released over 10 years ago? Maybe this knife was a frame lock that utilized phosphor bronze washers with amazingly smooth action. The spine of the blade is elegantly crowned, and it feels like it was meant to last a lifetime. This knife was not made in China, and both the company and the designer behind this classic yet timeless design are both considered legendary. You'd probably think I was talking about a Chris Reeves Sebenza, right? You'd be wrong.
This is Sparta!
Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in, and if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And yeah, I'm done Vanna Whiting the box, I promise. Guys, today I'm excited because I'm finally going to break my silence on the Spyderco swish buoy. And yes, I know I said swish and not sleege or slish. There's been some consternation about how you say this designer's name, but if you go on Spyderco's website and you look at their listing for the swish buoy, you will see that that is in fact how they say it's supposed to be pronounced. Now you might be looking at this going, whoa. That doesn't look like the regular Knife Joy swish buoy. I couldn't help it, okay? I love modifying my knives, especially my Spydercos, and this one has been in my possession now for roughly a month. I modified it already. Nothing major, but you might be thinking, Rolls, I clicked on the thumbnail because you made a really bold claim, and I understand that I'm kind of known for doing that, for the hot takes, but the truth is that I wanted to wait until I had an opinion worth sharing before I did my video on it. The swish buoy has been around for a very long time, and it wasn't until after it was discontinued that it really boomed in popularity, and then all of a sudden the secondary market was going crazy for these, and these were going for ridiculous prices. And that's not to say that the original price was that good either, because initially these were costing somewhere around the $300 to $330, $350 range. And then they got discontinued, and all of a sudden they went out of stock everywhere. So the story goes that Spyderco discontinued this model, and then because of all of the popular demand surrounding this knife, they were able to get it back because one knife retailer specifically decided to have this whole model as their exclusive. That's not something that we've seen before, or if it is, please let me know in the comment section down below, but I can't think of a single other Spyderco model that is an exclusive to a retailer. So that's not cheap to do. Essentially, Knife Joy is taking on all of the cost to bring this back for the enthusiasts, for the people like me who absolutely can't help but pay for the sharp and the shiny. And what that's created, because the price has inevitably gone up. The price has gone up to about $450, with many people saying it's just not worth it. So I pulled the trigger on this guy because I always wanted one, and I finally had an opportunity to get one. And critics be damned, I wanted to know, is the swish buoy worth it? Is it something that I'm going to turn around and sell? Because the nice thing about picking this up is that if you don't like it, you can turn around and sell it. People go nuts for these too. Even the secondary market for the Knife Joy exclusive, even though it's a lot lighter than it is on the original versions, you can still sell these for more than what you paid for them. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the knife itself. In case you've been living under a rock, the swish buoy comes in about 7.8 inches. This specific version has M390 steel with this really beautiful satin ground blade. Many people were disappointed that they didn't bring back kind of the stone-washed mirror polish on the blade. Personally, I love a good satin grind, and this one is really good. The blade itself is a full flat grind, and Spyderco is known for their full flat grinds, and I know many people would prefer a hollow grind, but a full flat grind like this is going to be supremely slicey. And if you want to see it in action, I'll go ahead and destroy some cardboard with it later, so feel free to hang on for that. Also, this has titanium handle scales that are blue anodized, and you can't really see it right now because I put a Rips Garage Tech skin over the top. And the reason I did that is because the blue ano on here, while it does look good, it patinas quickly and it scratches like it's made of butter. The snail trails appear out of nowhere, whether you're using it or not. The original version had a stonewashed finish on the scales, and honestly, I do prefer that. I think the blue looks good, but it doesn't last. And so for those reasons, I thought, you know what, might as well go ahead and add a skin on there, at least for now. What I'd really like to do is get some Cerakote work done, and there's plenty of good knife modders out there that'll do that for me. But until then, I'm just going to leave this skin on there, which is kind of micarta-esque. It's a nice fabric, 3M adhesive. It stayed on there really well. No issues there. The stock clip that comes on the swish buoy is a wire clip, and I hate that. I hate wire clips. They feel cheap, especially when we're talking about a knife at $450. So while I was at Rips Garage Tech picking up the skin, I also picked up one of their fabulous milled pocket clips. Now, you can get these in the bluey, which is supposed to be a very close match to the blue ano of the scales. But since I knew that I was either going to be putting a skin on there long term or doing a Cerakote job on here long term, it didn't matter. So I went ahead and just got the regular stonewashed finish on that clip. That clip looks fantastic. It is a frame lock, or, you know, depending upon how old school you want to go, you could call it a Chris Reeve integral lock. I'll just call it a frame lock for simplicity's sake. Body screws are T6, pocket clip screw is T8, and the pivot screw is T8. Of course, non-captive, that's totally fine. Running on phosphor bronze washers. We've got some really, really good jimping, and I would actually venture to say that's some of the best jimping that I've experienced on the spine of a blade. And then it transitions into this beautiful crowned spine. What really got me to want to press record was the fact that I believe that this is essentially Spyderco's Sebenza. That might not sit well with a lot of people. The Chris Reeve Sebenza is a legendary knife. What do you mean? When I think about the Chris Reeve Sebenza, and I have one right here, I think about a knife design which is simplistic but also advanced for its time. Something that is meant to be a one and done knife, if that is in fact what you're looking for. Something that makes enthusiasts gush, but also is something you could take to work with you and hard use. And by the way, if you have any issues with your Chris Reeve Sebenza, you could, send it into Chris Reeve, and, their lifetime warranty is fantastic. So when I think about it, it's not that I believe that this is necessarily like a Sebenza. I just see this as Spyderco's Sebenza. This is a knife design which has over time just gotten better and better once you compare it against other carry knives or other knives, especially other knives from Spyderco themselves. There are things, of course, that I'm not a huge fan of. Like I said, I'm not a fan of their wire clips. I'm not a fan of the fact that the ano scratches extremely easily. I would love to have some stone washing on there. And of course, I would also love to see some T8 hardware on the body, but from their Taichung factory, it's not necessarily that uncommon. It is reversible on the pocket clip side, and you do get a black half length, maybe that's 3/4 length G10 backspacer. I think it's kind of funny that that's G10 because we know that they're capable of doing titanium backspacers, especially on their more premium models coming out of Taiwan. I'm not super mad about it because it's not something that I spend a lot of time looking at. It's not something that I notice the feel of, and it is going to be lighter than a titanium backspacer. G10 is plenty tough for 99.999% of people. So, while I would have appreciated, a full titanium build, we don't have it. It's not a huge deal. I'm just going to Cerakote it anyways. When I looked into the original version of this knife, I found that there have been, in fact, some meaningful upgrades between the original and between the KnifeJoy exclusive, which is the one that you can get occasionally if you're lucky and you have fast trigger fingers. The first is going to be the blade steel. So check it out. The original Swish buoy was made in CTS XHP, which is a hell of a steel. But this version is made in M390, which in fact is an upgrade from CTS XHP. It's going to hold an edge better, it's going to get better polish, and it's also going to have better corrosion resistance. The stainless steel means that you can, of course, use this. This is a knife that was built and designed to be a user knife, to be something that you could carry every day and feel really good about. It was designed for the intention of being a one and done knife. And I think that once this started gaining some popularity, that's what people were really looking for. It's sad to me that it took discontinuing this knife for people to really become interested in it, because then the scalpers got their hands on them and it was over for the enthusiast. So a big thank you and a shout out to KnifeJoy for actually bringing this back, because I know many of you guys are going to say, all that's fine and good, Rollshambo, but I'm not going to buy it. Newsflash, it doesn't matter, because they're not available right now. And they sell out every single time. So for every person that says, I don't want to buy it at $450, there's 10 more in line that are ready to do that. Do I think that it's worth it? Yes and no. Yes would be for those hardcore enthusiasts that have always wanted one, but really like the idea that you actually get meaningful changes like the M390. It also has a lock bar over travel stop now, as well as a lock bar interface that are both made of steel. The original just had a titanium on steel interface, and so over time that wasn't going to last as long. That's a meaningful quality of life update to this knife. This is 100% a knife that could be a one and done. And if I had to run out of my house in a burning house fire and I could only save whatever was in my pocket, I'm telling you right now, there'd be a decent chance that this would be in my pocket and I would be okay with that. I have several such knives that I could consider one and done knives. And if there ever comes a time where I decide to close the curtains on this hobby and just keep a few, this will definitely be one of them. Some of the standout things that go unnoticed on this knife are the contoured handle scales. This isn't a slab style construction. These are in fact contoured. Contoured handle scales made of titanium are not something that we see a whole lot of. It's a more expensive process all around. And it's nice because you get improved ergonomics over slab style handle scale construction. You will notice, especially if you change out that pesky wire clip, that the ergos on here are phenomenal. I won't carry a knife that doesn't feel good in hand, but it's a bonus when you pick it up and you just notice that it fits and conforms to your hand perfectly. Next is the action. Washer action is hit or miss. For some, it can be hydraulic and slow, but on this one, it's very, very smooth. It's actually one of the first things that I likened to a Sebenza, because the Sebenza also runs on washers. Granted, the Sebenza pivot system is different, but that is smooth and it feels different than, you know, the action that I get on my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, for example. It feels supremely smooth, and that is a testament to the quality coming out of their Taichung, Taiwan factory. As a tool itself, you might be saying, well, that sounds good, but how does it cut? Let's go ahead and grab a scrap piece of cardboard and I'll show you. All right, guys, so here we go. There is a scrap piece of cardboard, and just a disclaimer, this cardboard, I don't know if it had glue on it or something, but it's actually given me problems recently. So I don't know. It could, in fact, throw me off, but we're going to find out. It's a freaking laser beam. Oh yeah, look at that, how smooth those cuts are on this corrugated cardboard. And yeah, a lot of knives can cut cardboard, but it's the efficiency of that cutting edge. It's a freaking laser beam. That feels extremely satisfying. Oh man, it's got a really good cutting geometry. For everyone out there that says that you have to have a hollow ground blade in order to get a laser beam cutting knife, you know what? Have them go ahead and do a few cut tests with one of these bad boys. It might change their mind. Ah, that's good. I really like that. And then, of course, we have to talk about some of the things that people will say inevitably in the comment section. And I might be heading you off, and let me know if that's the case. But there are going to be some people that say, well, you can get other Marcin swish designs made by Spyderco at a better price point. Are you talking about the Spidey Chef? Are you talking about the Spyderco swayback? Because if you are, the reason why those prices are so good is because they haven't updated those designs, and because they are discontinued, because they're not necessarily that popular anymore. Those knives are still using CTS XHP, and while they might be really cool designs, the demand just isn't there, and they're also not being fronted by a single knife retailer like the Swish buoy is. What it all comes down to for me is that it's worth it if you think that it's worth it, guys. There are a ton of really good knives out there at the $400 price point and even lower. But in this case, this one tickles my fancy as an enthusiast, as a user, as a collector. And when you can check all of those boxes and throw in things like really good ergonomics, reversible pocket clip, a strong lockup, fantastic, fidgety, addictive action, and a knife design that is ultimately a classic that will stand the test of time, you, my friend, have a winner. And I definitely believe that I do as well. If you have any thoughts in mind for what other mods I could do to this, aside from maybe Cerakoting the handle scales and, changing out the pocket clips, so on and so forth, let me know in the comment section down below. Guys, I am a huge fan of this knife, and buying it only validated my opinion beforehand. But I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. Would you buy a Spyderco swish buoy? Is it too expensive? What do you think about my comparison to it as basically Spyderco's Sebenza? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Guys, if you watched this far and you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. About 67% of people that watch my content are not subscribed yet. So make sure you click on the button that pops up in the corner here in a second. But if you just want to watch some more awesome knife and EDC content, feel free to click on one of the videos that pops up next.